Imagine that being
Maybe not. Maybe not that one.
You know, someday when I'm retired, I think I'm going to go back and listen to the first few minutes of every one of my recordings from this class and just go, oh my gosh. Yeah.
Because you miss us.
You love us so much.
I won't know if I miss you until you go away.
Okay, well,
So you got to go away first, then I can know if I'll miss you. Otherwise, I'd just be guessing, and I don't want to do that.
I feel like you should just know every time we leave the room, though.
Yeah.
I do know every time you leave the room because a smile comes on my face. But other than that,
He's thinking about us. Okay. That's always
I'm
fine.
still here.
Yeah, not I'm still here. Is that why you're still sad when we're gone?
your what
We're
hurts?
still here.
Ah!
They're safe. It's like music, but I think
That's not.
I don't
No, it's
think
not.
it's.
This is not connected to me.
no, I'm saying it's just it's
1, 2,
Feel
3,
like
4,
I
5,
asked
6, 7,
her
8,
if I was mentally okay.
13,
why did you ask that?
13,
Because he never expected me to know.
I was just
Well, apparently I'm good. Because I wore suit.
How dare you?
damn. Let's talk about that. Let's dive into it.
Okay.
Let's make a talk.
It all started when I was young.
It all started when I was really young. Okay, good. Wonderful. Excellent. Great way to start the story, ladies and gentlemen.
Yeah.
And you should also end it with
Even with the tennis shoes.
Mr. Brand.
Okay, so
Aw. Hey, I'm wearing a tux too.
we'll go with that. Questions before we get going today, ladies and gentlemen, because tomorrow is your test. Okay? And actually, what I'm going to do for you today is I'm going to give you the last 20 minutes of class today to get started on it.
Oh.
You'll get started on it, you'll turn it in, you'll finish it tomorrow.
Okay.
So, therefore, we've got about 45 minutes left for questions you may have, things you would like me to go through, or if you want some time to just look over things. Okay? Who's charging AirPods in my room? I'll find out when I go unplug them and put them behind my desk. Can you please not charge them in my room? Sorry. Okay? Sorry. Thank you. You have to listen to the same things I do, which is me. Okay? All right. So, what else you got, ladies? Oh, gosh. So now she's going to charge them off her computer, which her computer is going to die. Then she's going to need a charging cord. Better not die in my class. So, is there anything you want me to go over for sure?
Acid.
Okay, everything. All right, good. Let's start at the beginning then, ladies and gentlemen.
It all started when I was young.
Okay? See, it was a little hospital back in Hammond, Indiana, and never mind. Okay. Well, yeah, because I lived on the Illinois-Indiana border.
And then you moved here?
Yes.
Wow.
My dad was originally from a little town called Algoma, which is about 30 minutes to the northeast of
I feel
here.
like we've heard about
Yeah.
that.
Well, I'm sorry, she asked. What do you want me to do? Make up a different story this time?
Yeah.
Yes.
Make it cooler.
Sorry, very little about me is cool.
Indiana.
Don't say.
Okay.
Shocker.
So, you did, not me. Okay, so you want to do names or you want to do formulas first?
Acids.
Well, I'm gonna kind of review the whole thing for you. Okay? So let's begin with formulas. Formulas to names. Because that's what's gonna happen on your quiz. You're gonna be given a formula, you're gonna have to write a name for it. Okay? Now, when you're going from formulas to names, first of all, you have to understand there are 5 different kinds of compounds that we have. See, this is what bothers me, though. You asked me to review things, the whole unit, everything, and then I'm going through it, and you're busy worrying about other things like your glasses and crap that don't really matter that ain't going to be on the test.
I'm trying to see.
Well, again, there's seats right up here in the front. You can't get much closer.
No, I still can't see what I'm there.
Right there, in front of Levi. You can't get, come sit in this chair then, and put your computer off on the side. I don't know what to tell you, okay? I don't know what to tell you. Okay, So, ladies and gentlemen, when you're looking at a formula and you're trying to decide what name to give it, okay, the first thing you have to decide if it is binary or ternary. Okay? Now, ternary is easy. 3 or more capital letters. Okay? Binary, 2 capital letters. So remember, we're looking at formulas. MGS. Ternary would be something like AgNO3. Okay? So again, you're looking at the symbols. 2 capital letters means it's binary. 3 capital letters or more means it's ternary. Once you've determined that it is binary, there are 3 kinds of compounds it can be. Okay? The first one that we dealt with was an ionic. That is between a metal and a nonmetal. Okay? And metals are always written first. So something like NaCl. Okay? So now when we're naming this, we name the metal, Na, sodium. We name the nonmetal, chlorine. We change our ending to IDE. Sodium chloride. Questions? Okay. The second thing that it could be, if it's binary, is it could be covalent. Binary covalent is 2 nonmetals. So something like N2O4. So this again was sodium chloride. When we have a covalent compounds use our prefixes. So we are going to describe how many of every atom is in the compound. So this has 2 nitrogen, so that is dinitrogen. It has 4 oxygen, so that is tetraoxide. Again, ending in IDE, both of these, because they are binary. So that doesn't change, ladies and gentlemen. They are always going to end in IDE, whether they are binary ionic or binary covalent. So since it ends with a nonmetal, both of these, we change the ending on the nonmetal to IDE, whether it's ionic or covalent. The difference is here, we don't have to worry about charges. The difference is here, these do not have to be reduced. And we have to describe everything. Now, what is the one prefix we will not begin a name with? We will not begin a name with mono. So if there is only one of them at the start, it does not begin with a prefix. But there is always a prefix before the second element, even if it's only one. So for example, carbon monoxide. 1 carbon, 1 oxygen. It is a covalent compound, so that we get that prefix in there so that you recognize that it is a covalent compound. Okay? So CO would be carbon monoxide. It's still going to have a prefix in it, even if it isn't at the first element. Questions? All right. The third thing that could be binary is an acid. Okay? Could be a binary acid. The way we recognize it is it has H at the start and it ends with AQ at the end. All acids need to be noted that they are aqueous. So for example, HCl AQ. That is a binary acid. Okay. Now we are going to name it. When you name a binary acid, all binary acids begin with what? They begin with hydro and they end with ic acid. So now you have to take what the nonmetal is that's with it. Carbon, nitrogen, fluorine, chlorine, bromine, iodine, astatine, tellurium, selenium, sulfur. Not oxygen. Why?
Because that'll make water.
Because that would make water. Phosphorus, arsenic, silicon, boron. You won't put hydrogen with hydrogen because it wouldn't make an acid. It would just be hydrogen. Okay? So hydro something ic acid. Hydrochloric, hydrofluoric, hydrobromic. Now again, when it comes carbon, hydrocarbonic, hydrocarbic, I will accept either one of them because we don't use them often enough where you may necessarily know how far back to go. Hydrophosphoric puts the OR in there because it sounds better to end after the R, hydrophosphoric, rather than hydrophosphic acid. Again, minor spelling errors I'm not going to take off for, but it has to end in ic acid. And it has to begin with hydro if it is binary. Questions? So those are the three ways that things can be binary. Okay? Any questions at all on that? All right. Now, if we're looking at a ternary formula, I'm going to slide this over a little bit to give me some room. If we're looking at a ternary formula, there are two kinds. It could be an ionic compound again. Okay? An ionic compound is between a metal or a a metal or a cation and a nonmetal. Whoops. Let me rephrase that. Sorry. And an anion. Now, we use anion because this is going to normally be a polyatomic. Okay? It's normally going to be a polyatomic. When you look on the back side of your periodic table, ladies and gentlemen, every one of these except for one is a negative ion. Ammonium is the one that is not. And ammonium is the reason that I wrote cation here. They will begin with either a metal, one of these things, or it could begin with ammonium. Okay? It could begin with ammonium, NH4, because that is a positive ion. So that is by definition a cation, but so are metals cations. Okay? So you're going to recognize it though, because again, there will be three or more capital letters. Here are the first three. But there is not a metal in this. Nitrogen is not a metal. Okay? Now, this could go with just any non-metal up there. Chlorine, fluorine, bromine, in which case it would be ammonium chloride, fluoride, bromide. If it's a lone element, just one atom that is ending your compound, it still ends in IDE. Some of our polyatomics end in IDE. Hydroxide, ferrocyanide, ferrocyanide, cyanide. Here's the good news. The only one of those that I have ever given anyone ever is hydroxide. Okay? We don't use the other ones. But again, people go looking for hydroxide on this side. My suggestion to you, wouldn't be a bad idea to put a note up here that says hydroxide is OH minus 1. Because this is where people start looking because it ends in IDE. You don't want to, you don't have to. I don't care. It is on the back side already. Questions? So most of these, the polyatomic will be at the end because most of ours end or most of our polyatomics have a negative charge. Okay? Now, when we're writing names for these, we write the name of the metal or the cation, ammonium, iron, silver, aluminum, copper, and then we write the name of the polyatomic. Sulfate, phosphate, acetate. Now, the only way where it gets a little bit tricky is over on the side here. You can have carbonate, CO3, lose one oxygen and become a CO2 group. Now it is no longer carbonate, now it is carbonite. We change the ending to IDE. Carbonate could also lose two oxygens and go down to CO, in which case we would put the the prefix hypo in front, and it would become hypocarbonite, meaning that it has lost two oxygens. All of that is on the back here. Okay, all of that is on the back here. And actually, it could gain one oxygen, the polyatomic, and become CO4 instead of CO3, in which case we use that per in front with the ATE ending. Questions? Okay. Now, the other kind of ternary compound is a ternary acid. Okay, so when you're looking at the formula, begins with a hydrogen, because all formulas for acids begin with hydrogen, has AQ at the end, and it has 3 or more capital letters. Okay? To name this, its name is based on the polyatomic. Ion. What that means is if it is an ATE polyatomic, it will become an ic acid. If it is an ITE polyatomic, it becomes an OUS acid. And more importantly, no hydro at the front. Hydro is reserved for binary acids only. So, if you have a formula that is H3PO3 aqueous, PO3 is the polyatomic. Turn your periodic table over. Tell me what PO3 is. Phosphite. So therefore our acid becomes phosphorus acid. If you were to write phosphorus, I can't even say it. Phosphorus acid, I would still give you credit, whether you didn't put the OR back in or not. But obviously this is the reason they put the OR back in, because phosphorus sounds terrible. Phosphorus sounds better. Okay? So, that is how we name ternary acids. You have to find. Now, you can have a per in front of the 8. So, percarbonate can become percarbonic acid. You can have hypo in front of the 8. Hypochlorite can become hypochlorous acid. Still is based all off of the polyatomic. Questions? That is the entire naming system. Everything that we have covered. By the way, on a test, I will give you the Roman numerals if you need them. and I will give you the prefixes. In other words, I will tell you I is 1, I is 2, I is 3, and that in prefix, di means 2, tri means 3, tetra means 4. I will give that to you on a test. Questions? Okay. Now, the other way that we have to go here is we have to go from names to formulas. Okay? That is the other way that we have to go here. All right, so again, we still have binary. And we still have, I'm going to put it down here this time, ternary. Okay? Under binary, we can have binary ionic. Okay? Which again is still a metal and a non-metal. So in a binary ionic, your name will begin with a metal. Copper, gold, silver. Okay? So your name begins with a metal. Okay? And then you have a non-metal with an IDE ending. Okay? So now you write the symbol of your metal with its charge. You write the symbol for your non-metal. So let's say this was iron 3 oxide. You write oxygen and its charge. Where did I get the +3 from iron? Roman numerals tell you it if it's in an area on the periodic table where you cannot find its charge. You can find the charge of it based on what group it's in. All of these in red are a +1. All of these in orange are a +2. All of these in purple here, these here, are a +3. These can be a +4, but remember, tin and lead could also be a +2. The negatives, their charges never change. Carbon and silicon -4, arsenic up to nitrogen -3, tellurium up to oxygen -2, astatine up to fluorine -1. Can't use noble gases, why?
Because they're already stable.
They're already stable. They will not make an ionic compound. Okay? After we have our charges, we do our crisscross method. Fe2O3. It gets the total charge on the compound to be 0. That's it. Done. Questions? Okay. Now, you could have a binary covalent. If you have a binary covalent compound, you will see prefixes. So, for example, carbon monoxide. Okay? So there will be prefixes in the name. You will begin with a nonmetal. So there are always prefixes. There are never prefixes with a binary ionic. Okay? So when you have the name carbon monoxide, you don't have to do any of this charge stuff. All you do is write what the name is actually telling you. Carbon, C. Oxygen, 1. Mono means one of the oxygens. That's it. You are done. You do not need to reduce them. You do not need to count for charges. You write exactly what is given to you in the name. Questions? Okay. The third one is you could have a binary acid. Okay? If you have a binary acid, so hydrobromic acid. Binary acids begin with hydro end with ic acid. Now the important part of this is here, because there are other acids that end ic acid. But you should never, ever, ever not recognize an acid by name because they all say acid. Okay? And what do acids always begin with? What element? They begin with hydrogen. Okay? Hydrogen is always a +1. So now you put it with what bromic comes from. Bromic comes from bromine. Br, -1. You still need to do charges just like we did here. So this gives us HBr, and we put AQ after it. Questions? Whatever the charge is here would go down by the hydrogen. You would never put anything from hydrogen with whatever it's with because it's always going to be a what? Questions? All right, so let's talk ternary, the last part. And again, we're going from names to formulas. Ternary you can have ternary ionic. They normally end in either ATE or ITE, except 2 times. 1, hydroxide. Hydroxide is OH and a -1. Okay? The other time they will not end in ATE or ITE is if ammonium is at the start. Because that is a positive polyatomic, ammonium might be with one of the lone elements and it could still end in IDE. So you could have ammonium chloride, ammonium bromide, ammonium fluoride, ammonium iodide. It's possible that ammonium could be with acetate, in which case, boom, we're back here to it normally ending in ATE or ITE. Ends in ATE, ITE, boom, we know for sure it has to have a polyatomic in it. Okay? If it has ammonium at the start, has to have a polyatomic in it because ammonium is a polyatomic. And if it ends with hydroxide, that will be the one that ends in IDE that is still ternary. Questions? Okay. For ternary, we need to do everything that we did with binary. Ammonium sulfate. We write down ammonium, NH4. If this were lithium, we would write down lithium. If it were sodium, we would write down sodium with its charge. You have to do charges with ionic compounds. Sulfate is SO4, and it is a -2. Now, ladies and gentlemen, we are going to take, and we are still going to have to do our crisscross, because what is the charge on any ionic compound always? 0. 0. Whether it's binary or ternary, its charge has to be 0. That is the reason that we have to put the charges up here. That is the reason that we have to do the crisscross method. So this 2 comes down by the NH4. I have to put it in parentheses if I'm going to put a number by it. By the SO4, I'm putting the number 1, so I do not have to put anything by it. Now, what is the only way that the crisscross method lets you down? It is possible that you could have a +2 and a -2, crisscross them, and then you would have 2's in both of these spots. You have to reduce ionic compounds into lowest terms. Not covalent, only ionic. Okay? So we have to reduce them into lowest terms. Questions on ternary ionic? Okay. So the last kind of ternary that we have then, ladies and gentlemen, is a ternary acid. Okay, now, ternary acid. You recognize it because it will either end ic acid or OUS acid. Okay, it has to end in one of those two. There is no other way for it to end than to end in one of those two. Has to end ic acid, has to end OUS acid. Okay, here is the other thing. There is no hydro. It does not begin with hydro. Okay? So, for example, iodic acid. Okay? Iodic acid. This is the polyatomic. Okay? To be ternary, there has to be a polyatomic involved. And it can't be ammonium. Why? Hydrogen is already acting as a positive ion. So you can't have ammonium in it. So it's got to be one of the others. Okay. Iodic acid comes from an 8 polyatomic. The OUS acid comes from an 8 polyatomic. So, iodic comes from iodate. Now, what do I got to put the iodate with? Hydrogen. All acids, whether they begin with hydro or not, in their formula, they all have hydrogen. So I'm going to put hydrogen +1 with iodate, IO3 -1. You still need to balance off charges. You get HIO3 AQ. There is your ternary acids. That's everything we've been doing for the last 2 and however much weeks. Questions? Told you I would give you the last 20 minutes. We still have 15 minutes. I have some ones on the next page where I have formulas and names written. We could look at those. I could give you time to work on things. Cynthia, go ahead. Sure. Okay. Again, do you want me to put them up and have you try them? Do you want to work on things on your own? You tell me what you need right now. Do I have test topics? That's what we just covered. Okay. Okay. Here you go. You want the test topics up there? There they are. There are the test topics. Not a problem.
Why did you say that?
We did.
Hey, very good. I'm currently on F. The one where
Cynthia, I'll be there in 1 second. All right. Can I move on from these test topics? Yes or no? Sure. Was that all? Did somebody say no?
Because he didn't.
Good to go.
He still has a grade.
Like nobody said no.
He's a grade.
Cynthia's deciding if she said no or not.
No, I can't see.
Well, Cynthia,
I can't see.
Wait, just
what-
like.
here's the thing, Cynthia. You know in the Google Classroom where the daily agendas are.
Oh, okay.
It's on today's daily agenda. Okay? It's on today's daily agenda. All right. These are formulas. Write names for them. I don't care if you do them all. Again, in 14 minutes, I'm going to let you start your test today. Okay? If there's, and again, you'll notice I have Roman numerals by it. I don't expect you to know when to write a Roman numeral in a name, but when I tell you that one is needed, you're going to have to write the appropriate Roman numeral.
Wait, so we're gonna start a test today?
Yes.
We have to?
You don't want the extra 20 minutes and a chance to look at the test before you get it tomorrow?
I guess. So like, I could just get it and not answer it.
That's fine, but you only get tomorrow's class to finish. Now, you will have to put your stuff away when you are looking at the test. In other words, you can't take your phone out and take pictures of it.
No, obviously.
Well, you never know with you what's going through that mind of yours.
Yeah. Why do you have SI3 when it should be S5 over? Okay, so then
Let's talk about it. All these non-oxidized.
Tomorrow.
Yeah,
She knows exactly what I'm talking about.
no.
Do you come to me with physics questions?
No, but when I did physics, I am like,
No, you're not. I don't want you to help. I don't want you to help.
well, I'm gonna retake this whole class. I mean,
Probably
next
without
year.
taking physics.
Next year. I'm gonna retake physical science just to be here.
Good. Do that. You know what? I got all chemistry.
Yeah, retake chemistry.
Hey, I didn't know I failed that test.
Well, maybe you do better on it the second time.
Did you get that little card?
I don't know how to do this.
Yeah.
Oh.
Open I did. Sorry. I understand it. Like, it's really easy. It's basically just simple.
And then you get all right.
So you can do that.
You could run for
Oh, yeah.
water, I think they could.
So it literally is.
Wait, are you working?
Oh, that was why.
Did you get like does he use enough room to check? Yeah. Okay, because on all the reviews, he puts like this much room, and I can do the first part. I just haven't been checking. That's not really good. No, but why do I now have two tests on me today? With the awareness and my retake. I need to grade the retake because that's what's gonna keep me out. The retake is what keeps me out.
Wait, what's the charge of an atom?
Excuse me? In other words, when we tell you that the atom is calcium, what charge does it have?
Okay, second one, I got 57.
When we tell you it's aluminum, what charge does it have? If I tell you it's chlorine, what charge does it have?
She's told me that.
First of all, don't listen to Cynthia. We've established a long time ago she has no idea what she's doing. Okay? Yes, sir. HU means aqueous, means it's dissolved in water. So we have to put that by an acid because acids have to be dissolved in water. Other things can be dissolved in water as well.
My issue is
but acids have to be. So we put that distinction by them.
I really suck.
Yes, ma'am.
And so I need him to get on this
No.
course. And
No, how you do it,
why do I
because
do
there's
better
three
with
elements.
details? I literally just so good at retakes.
If it's ternary, you base it off of that SO4. So what is SO4?
And then once he does that, I'm like, okay, I need to retake. I'm good.
Sulfate. So we change the AT ending and make it acid.
I love when teachers accidentally. I just
I would accept it. It actually is when you're in, I think when you are back in there,
Because I was
but
like,
if
I
you
don't
go
know.
sulfate, I
So
would
you
take
brought
If you
that.
just sit there and have to explain it long enough, they'll give the answer.
Yeah.
This was like an extra question, right?
Yeah. It was really good. Because Mr. Whitmire just gave me the answer. And I was like, okay, buddy.
He what?
He gave me the answer on math test.
Mr. Quinn.
It had to be by mistake. Mr. Whitmire is the
No.
language arts teacher.
I went over to him because he was my substitute, and I was like, can you just reread this question to me? And he wrote up on a post-it note the answer, and he gave it to me. And he was like, this is the answer.
Are you sure it was right?
Yes, because I got 102% on that test.
Oh, okay.
And I was like, okay, that's kind of weird, but whatever.
You know, it's funny because when I used to teach freshmen 20-some years ago and we didn't have test generator programs and I had to write all my own tests, I would always put an answer in a pattern in the multiple choice answers. So it'd go like BB, CC, DD,
That
AA,
always throws me off.
and nobody ever caught it, but it made it real easy for me to grade.
That's really nice of you. I really appreciate that you did that. What do you?
Mr. Garay did a test one time where he gave all his multiple choice, all the answers were B.
Yeah,
For
Mr.
the
Master.
for second hour, for fourth hour, he made them all D. You'd be amazed how many people got a 0.
That's really
I would
nice.
cry.
I heard that.
Because that would be me. Oh, I hate stand up because I hate C. Culinary?
What?
Yeah, you gotta.
How about your multiple choice questions?
Yeah.
You have the same sex.
You gotta choose B.
But most of them are done by test generator now, so it's a random.
Gotta choose B. I just walk in and I say, I'm choosing B.
Right when you walk in the culinary.
Another one on the-
I hate culinary. I'm so
Okay,
I'm Mr. Seaver.
Oh.
Yeah.
Oh.
Let's
Yeah.
think.
Okay.
Your practice.
Yeah.
Yeah, I did.
I
And I have my
have
least favorite person ever in that class as well.
I have this
Oh,
one.
You really did.
It went down your back.
I was going for your That was this year. Last try, we were like, oh, we're doing the same one.
And
By the time we
village,
attend, I probably won't be wearing all of this in an hour.
Pioneer, no sé si la segunda vez sí.
I shouldn't have. I mean, I
That's
was
how I feel like
gonna
after
see
this
right.
minutes.
That's it, because we would have had.
So, like,
You called me over here. I
But then I wouldn't have chemistry.
I don't know. It's their time.
I wouldn't have had chemistry this hour.
I have to use so first
But if I didn't take that, then I wouldn't have chemistry.
Oh, Miss Martin?
You just
No,
said
I
it.
wouldn't. Yeah. Because I was gonna have chemistry first try, but then I switched to this try.
So solo se pone.
That's why I messed up.
He said he was just, yeah, and that's because it's his birthday tomorrow.
Great. Mr. Nass probably needed it. You're probably hungry. People are hungry.
Wait, do we all
Breakfast.
this class
We do, but I need to get it changed
Yes,
to
he's not.
this
I
hour.
just told you. I thought.
Right now. Are you? I have a treat. Take your
Yeah,
notes.
you
Imagine
can
not
I
having
don't
to
believe anyone actually eats breakfast.
And then I'll
That'd be
have
really
the same
awesome.
math as you.
I do.
Emailed my counselor about taking.
Every day.
I'm so
You're gonna get this way by not eating breakfast?
So I'm just not.
What are you laughing at?
Oh my god.
It's so
There's no way the world likes try.
And not self-centered, it's just all about me, okay?
Or culinary.
I thought you liked Ambulance.
I do, but
So you're now calling me fat, that I'm the most massive thing and everything revolves around me because I have the most gravitational attraction.
that's how I feel.
Okay, well, you said it.
That's how I feel.
Your final for this first trimester is a lab project.
I don't feel like
Explaining it.
I don't feel like getting it.
Anybody have Brandon, you should get the teacher apple that.
No.
I just have one.
Teacher apple thing.
Golden apple.
Why did you pick another?
I don't believe in golden apples, but thank you.
You were the one, because I was thinking the other day.
I'm sorry, here, what?
No,
you're not. Iron is one where I have to give it to you. Or we have to do that process where we figure it out based on the non-metal that it's with.
I'm so happy I have 2 art classes. Mr. Brand,
What?
jump here.
Hold on. Just ask this question. Am I supposed to know the charge of iron? No, you're supposed to be able to figure it out based on the compound. The compound is FeP. Okay? So, we know that the total charge of this compound is 0. How many phosphorus are in it? How many phosphorus? 1. What is phosphorus charge? -3. That means this part of the compound has a charge of -3. Which means the iron part of the compound has to have a charge of +3. Since there is only one of them here, what has to be the charge of that one? That's how we find it. Okay? So we have to work backwards. Normally we use the charges to write the formula of the compound. We can use the formula of the compound to work backwards and find the charge. Since we always know the charge of a non-metal, we can then find the charge of the metal. Okay? Questions?
I have a question. Can I staple this?
No, you can't use that.
Why would you hand that?
Pretty big, and I can't fit it in
No,
there.
I'm sorry. You can only use what you got on your periodic table.
Mr. Brad,
What?
sign a paper.
No, I'm not.
Nadia, I have a seat right up here in the front where you can't annoy anyone.
I have no paper.
Don't throw anything at Cynthia. Okay? Unless it's heavy. Okay?
So can I throw you? You don't run it.
No. You look like offended.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, close your computers. Put everything on the counters except for your periodic tables.
You look like offended when she said that. You want to copy mine?
I don't want yours.
No. I don't want to copy yours. She's gonna catch a disease. Caught a disease.
Yours like this big.
Now, again, ladies and gentlemen, you don't have to actually do anything on the test today. If you want to just look at it, you are welcome to, but your stuff has to be on the sides, your phone has to be away. But because tomorrow you are going to lose some time because of the shortened class periods, I'm giving that back to you today. If you want to go through and label the compounds, binary, ternary, acids, covalent, your choice, ladies and gentlemen. If you want to start on them, you can start on them, but this gets turned into me before you leave today. Okay? Because some people get sad about this test.
Just start crying in the middle of class.
That's just a sheet of paper.
It's only one sheet?
Yes, the sheet of yellow paper is only one sheet. The test is not.
How much is the test?
17 pages.
What's the yellow?
It's just that, a piece of yellow paper.
I'm actually asking.
Almost ran out. Okay, please turn to the second page, ladies and gentlemen. Please turn to the second page. On the second and the third page, there are 20 on each page. You only need to do 10. I will only grade the first 10 that you do.
On each page?
Yes. So you can skip half of them on the second page and half of them on the third page. And on the column where it says binary or ternary, you could simply put the letter B or the letter T. Where it says ionic, covalent, or acid, you can use I, C, and A. But you have to do all the way across. You can't do some binary, some ionic, some you do the name. You do all the way across, but you only have to do 10 out of the 20 on page 2 and 10 out of the 20 on page 3. On page 1 and 4, you need to do all of them. All of them. On page 5, there are some questions that you have to answer. You do not need to put those into complete sentences, but you need to answer them complete enough for me to give you credit. And then there are some bonus problems on there that if you can answer, you will get extra points. And if not, it doesn't hurt you. If you have questions, ladies and gentlemen, please raise your hand. I will come over and I will give you assistance. Otherwise, ladies and gentlemen, please go to work. Hey, shush. Please make sure you put your name on the front too, so that I can get your test back to you tomorrow. So please do not forget to put your name on the front. Oh, that's number 4. Sorry. You can't, yeah, it's hard to read up here. On the board, ladies and gentlemen, 1, mono, Roman numeral I. 2, di, Roman numeral II. 3, tri, so if you need help with a Roman numeral or whatever, please let me know.